Justin, do you have my phone? It's okay. Just check the live stream for me. Yeah, if you could just grab my.
When I think of activity, I think of my mother, who's 89 years old and still runs and walks and dances. In fact, every year she runs the Turkey Trot, a 5K race, and usually wins it in her age category, 80 and above. This last year, she was beaten by a whippersnapper, an 81-year-old. She was kind of upset about that. She also dances, she walks. She took up Pilates a few months ago. My mom is the epitome of activity. Now, when I think about an 89-year-old doing that, I also think about what's my excuse. The good thing is my mom enjoys it to the max. Enjoy the journey.
Folks, I always forget to unmute myself, don't I? Okay, let's start that again. Good evening and welcome. Please let me know in the comments if that you are here because we want to make sure, I want to make sure that I'm counting your attendance appropriately. so that you can potentially win a prize that I'll get to in just a moment. Because, yes, I actually have the prize with me tonight. Now, we're going to be focusing on health or on activity. That's our word for today, day 4. And we're not just going to be looking at physical activity, we're also going to be looking at mental activity for a bit, okay? Um, Activity is probably, if I were to take a poll right now, activity is probably the one aspect. Hey, Fritzy, glad to see you. Um, Activity is probably the one aspect that we automatically think of when we think about healthy living. We're like, okay, am I being active enough, or we're beating up ourselves because we're not being active enough, as in physically active. So we'll spend some time on physical activity, but we'll also spend some time on mental activity, because that is just such a vital part of this whole look at health. Now, remember, we are looking at the word creation as our focal point for these 8 days. C is for choice, R is for rest, E is for environment. You'll notice my plants. A is for activity, T is for trust, specifically trust in God. I is for interpersonal relationships. O is for, what was that thing? Outlook. And N is for nutrition, which is that other thing we often think about when we think about health, is the eating part. Now, I want to bring to the screen now something that I'm guessing a few of you at least have been wondering about. When is she going to show us what we can potentially win? And so I'm going to do a little unboxing right now. I did peek. I do know what's in there. I did order it. But I am going to show you now. Going to show you some things. Okay. This is something that if you if you've really enjoyed this week by day 8, and you would like to receive something to help you stay focused, we have some of these cards, and so we'll be giving away as many of these cards as possible, particularly to those of you who are local, because hey, if you're going to get this in the mail and you live in, I don't know, Atlanta, I might as well also add a book to that. Okay, remember there is that wonderful study guide that you can receive. So we have these health cards, and why don't I open a packet here so that you can actually see what these look like. It's a little card that has tips. That's the noise you're hearing. That has tips on it. And so you have here on the back things like improve your memory, get quality sleep, strategically clean your living space, form a successful exercise regimen. And each of these goes in line with the word creation. Okay? So this is a great way to remember what we should be focusing our energy on with each of these letters. Let's see what else we have in the prize box. More of these cards. Aha, we have some magnets. And what better way to encourage yourself than by putting a nice large size, like this is the size of my hand versus this, okay? A nice sized magnet on your fridge to remind you about this healthy lifestyle that you desire to live. It says, I'm living creation healthy, okay? And it has the website there for Creation Health, so you can get more information there if you so desire. Now, this is the day 8 prize. So if you are able to watch every single day, now if you're just joining us for the first time today, that's okay. I have bent the rules a little bit, so you can go back to our YouTube channel and you can catch up with the others. And as long as you comment when you're told to comment and show that you're there, present, and accounted for, then your attendance will count toward this grand prize. So this prize I think is really cool. It's a stretch band, okay? A resistance band, I should say, not a stretch band. A resistance band that people will often use in exercise, whether it's to stretch out a muscle or something else. But the great thing, the cool thing about this, the really, really cool thing, is that it actually shows you ways to use it, okay? It actually shows you how to use it. And there are a total of 10 positions that it shows you how to utilize the band. So I'm very excited to give this away to whoever has watched all 8. And I have another gift to give away to someone who has watched all 8. Hello, Antonia's sister. I'm so glad you're tuning in. So this is a journal. I love journals personally, and so I was definitely drawn to this as a prize. And I'm sure there's some of you out there who also enjoy a good journal. And so this one is lined, your standard lined journal, and it says Creation Life on the front. Another great way to remember these health commitments that you're making to yourself. And there is an elastic to help keep it closed and a pocket in the very back so that you can put things in there like your pocket tips. Although this should really go in your pocket, right? You can easily fold this and stick it in a wallet. Anyway, so these are the things that we've got going on for in terms of prizes. And so I am very excited to see. Ooh, I do love journals. So I'll be excited to see who is able to watch and comment and all that good stuff. And then we will share these wonderful prizes. And there are 2 journals, and I'm happy to get more of those resistant bands if we need them. All right. Now, I want to remind you again, I I really think that, and I realize, do I sound like a salesperson? Oh dear. Well, I want to remind you about the study guide because there is a lot of helpful information in it. And the way that things are divided up in the book, it's great to be able to do this with a team of people, with a group. Maybe you're part of a small group and this could be your next book together. And I am hoping to lead another group through this and expand it so that it's not just 8 days, but the next time we do this, we'll do many more than 8 days so that we can spend more time on each health principle. So, if I say all that to say that if you do want to order or receive one of these books, just go to our website, athensgasda.org/8days, and register. Registering will enable us to have your information for future health initiatives. If you signed up for something health related, then we'll communicate with you about things that are health related. And this will make sure that we have your address so we know where to ship this book to. All right. Let us get into our topic for today. And remember, I'm a mother of children, and so if you happen to hear them, they are joyous and full of life, and sometimes tears. And so just know I am at home, and this is my life. Um, well, let's say a prayer together as we look at activity. Dear God, thank you so much for another day, another opportunity to live and to breathe and to realize in some way your dreams for us. I pray that you will continue to bless us during these 8 days as we explore these 8 principles of health. And as we look at activity today, Lord, if there's something that we haven't yet quite committed to, help us to maybe understand why that is. If there's something we haven't yet understood, help us maybe even tonight to get that clarity. Help this to be a real blessing to as many people as possible. In your name I pray. Amen. So let's talk about activity. Activity, remember, we can look at this 2 ways. We can look at activity as physical, And we can also look at activity as mental. And the workbook, the study guide does that with us too. Okay. And I want, as I said at the beginning, I want to spend some time not just focusing on the physical, but also focusing on the mental, because oftentimes we miss out on that focus because we're so focused on getting our body in shape. Now, one of the things that the book shares, and I point to the book because it's there. I want you to know where I'm getting this information from, so that you can find it for yourself at a later time. One of the things that the book shares is the reality that our physical activity is so greatly impacted by our mental activity and vice versa. It's this beautiful relationship that the two types of activity have with one another. Okay, we cannot dismiss from the other. We cannot compartmentalize, physical activity over here and mental activity over there. They come together. Before I continue, put in the comments what you do. If you do something consistently for physical activity, jot that down in the comments, whether you're on Facebook or joining us on our YouTube channel. Excuse me. And I will say, if you're on our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe so that you can get alerts to future things that are on there. All right. So put in the comments for me what you do regularly for physical exercise or for mental exercise. Okay, and if you're not regular for either one, this is a no judgment zone. Okay, I am here to help and encourage, but I'd love to know right now, what are you doing on a regular basis for physical activity and for mental activity? All right, jot that down as soon as you can. And I'd love to share that. Walk the dog twice a day and go on long walks in the evening with neighbors. Trying to read one book a week for mental exercise. Wow, one book a week. That is powerful stuff. That is really engaging your mind, and I'm sure, uh, depending on what you're reading about, depending on what you're learning, your mind is doing all sorts of things. But it's definitely the brain is able to grow. Scientific studies show that the brain experiences some kind of growth. So that's a beautiful thing. And having that regular rhythm of walking, I've heard of some people getting a dog just so that they can walk because they know that the dog will have the desire to be outside and to run and to play, and so it forces them out of the house. And so whatever we can do to exercise, that's really really great, both mentally and physically. So let's talk about this aspect of mental fitness, and or mental activity, and I'm going to reference the book here as I talk about this. So, like I just said, scientists have discovered that the adult brain can grow in regular demand based on regular demands that are put upon the brain. So, if we're reading a book a week, if we're doing these daily walks, then our brain, depending on the activity, can experience some growth. Okay, walk down to the mailbox, walk by my treadmill every day, and tomorrow. Yes, so these are regular things. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Fritzy. These different things, and for some of us, walking to the mailbox is not at all an activity because it's 2 seconds away. But for some of you, because of where you live and the distance between your house and the mailbox, like that's a decent walk for you, right? And it's a great way to just move your body for a little bit of time. So the brain can actually grow based on the demands that are put upon it. But the goal here is not to be able to say, my brain has grown. Because, I mean, truthfully, are you going to get checked by the doctor to see what size your brain is now versus a year from now? Probably not. But, but this is, I think, kind of a fun fact, and a fact that shows us that there's a reaction, right? There's cause and effect. And so when we are able to engage our mind, to engage our body, something does happen. And in this case, the growth of the brain is not a bad thing. Okay. Now, there are other things that happen as well. If we don't exercise our minds, if we don't exercise our bodies, then it's sort of the phrase, if you if you no, what is it? Use it or lose it, right? This is what the reality of movement, of activity. If I don't use what I've been given, then at some point I'm going to lose that thing, and I'm going to lose it prematurely. Certainly at some point in life, right, you lose certain abilities because of age, but some abilities can be lost even earlier if we're simply not using our body as it was meant to be used. Now, let's look at mental activity for a second. Uh, the book refers to mental activity as well, it refers to breakfast as brain food, related to the fact that in order for our brains to function well, right, and to do that mental activity, we've got to fuel our body appropriately. So it talks about the importance of breakfast. If you are not a breakfast eater, again, this is a no judgment zone. The book does encourage you to consider breakfast. And I personally I'm an eater, okay? If it is time to eat, I will eat. And so I eat breakfast every morning, in part because my husband makes breakfast, and so I don't have to think about it, which is a perk. But having this food in our body, good food, healthy food in our body, fuels our brain. So again, this is a what's the word I'm looking for? There's a relationship between physical activity and mental activity, and we cannot downplay that at all. Now, what are ways that we can experience mental activity? You tell me. There's reading books, right? What else do we have? I think of games. When I think of mental activity, I think of Sudoku. My mom started playing Sudoku many years ago, and as a result of seeing her, I started playing. And whenever I would go on a plane ride, I would pull out the magazine, the flight magazine, and find that page for Sudoku. And no matter what, whether it was easy, medium, or hard, I was there trying it out. There are different ways to exercise our brain. Okay, conversations. Who are you having conversations with? This is a good question for us to ask ourselves. Who are we having conversations with? And what are we talking about? The book doesn't say all that I'm about to say because I'm going to do some speculative speak here. I would guess that if our brains are engaging with the same conversations over and over and over again, it's definitely going to instill whatever that is, the belief, the facts, the ideas, gonna really cement those into our brain. And but I wonder if it's the same old all the time, no challenges, none of that, no tension. If it's the same old, does our brain kind of get sleepy? Is there a point where our brain says, uh, nothing's really happening anymore. You kind of plateaued. I wonder. The book does speak about the importance of conversations, of talking with others, of talking about current events, of having these conversations that cause you, hopefully, to have to really process the information that you're hearing, and figure out appropriate ways to respond, right? This is all using our mind in a way that is important. We're doing now some mental activity, some mental exercise that is so important. Again, the mental is related to the physical. So now, when we talk about the physical, this may be where you start to feel guilty about your health habits. If you haven't been exercising regularly, now this is where you may say, "Oh, now she's going to talk about it." There's a relationship, right? So if we want to keep our brain alive and thriving, we've got to use it. We've got to have that mental exercise, and we need the physical exercise. So whatever the physical exercise is, if it is indeed exercise, then it is going to help with our mental, right? But let me jump back a little bit to what we're putting into our bodies. Oh no, now it's the what am I eating? Please don't ask me to calorie count. Please don't ask me to um, weigh myself every other day. Please don't ask me to fill in the blank, right? I'm not going to ask you to do anything. You have a choice, as we talked about on day one. Uh, but what I want to just reiterate is the importance of what we put into our bodies. If our mental activity and our physical activity are going to thrive, no matter what our age, no matter what our circumstance, if our mental and physical activity are going to grow to some capacity that is healthy and good, then what we put into our body has to matter to us, right? We have to be thinking about that aspect. And so we will get to nutrition and the last word in the word, the last letter in the word creation. We will get to that. And when we get to that, I hope that you come with an open heart and mind about what the information is, because I think it's easy for us to assume what the conversation will be surrounding nutrition. So come open, come willing to listen and learn and grow together. So we have the mental activity, we have the fueling of the mental activity and physical activity through what we're putting into our bodies, and we have the physical activity. Now, what is getting in the way of physical activity for you? Okay, if you're struggling with physical activity, why is that? What are the things that maybe there's something that you consistently say to yourself as a reason, you know? The other day when what was our topic? I can't remember now, but I I I shared the fact that sometimes, oh, oftentimes I will say, I just don't have the discipline. I'm not like so and so who seems so disciplined. What are those things that you keep on saying to yourself about your ability to move your body or your inability to move your body? What are those things you're saying? Are you saying, I'm just not that person. I've never been athletic. I've always been the kid with, a little extra weight. I've always been, I never will be. What are those things you're constantly saying? Okay? Remember again, the physical activity is related to the mental activity. So let's jump back to mental. Okay? If you've thought for a moment about the things you keep on saying to yourself as to what you're incapable of doing when it comes to physical exercise, let's go back to mental exercise. Okay. What are the things that you're doing to feed your mind in ways that will enable you to recognize when you're repeating this chorus of negativity that's not helping you progress in your physical activity? What are the books you're consuming, the magazines you're reading? What are the things that you're watching? The book talks about the fact that hopefully TV is not your only form of mental exercise. Please don't let it be your only form of mental exercise. And if it is right now, I'm not going to say, shut it down completely, throw it away, or whatever. But that's something that you'll want to think about. If that's your only way that you're stimulating your brain, why is that? Okay, let's think about the whys, not just about uh, the negative outcomes or the things you need to do to change your life, right? Let's think about the reasons why. So, if you're struggling with physical activity, are there things that you're continually telling yourself that you're not capable of doing? And is that mental exercise negatively impacting your ability to put one foot in front of the other? Perhaps, excuse me, what you have fed your mind about exercise is what's keeping you back from actually exercising and exercising consistently and exercising in a way that actually gets your heart moving and is helping you live a healthier life. I'll use myself as an example. My insurance, and I encourage you, if you have health insurance, to check in to see, does my insurance include a health coach? Mine includes a health coach for free. I pay enough in insurance. There's a free option for any for various sorts of coaching or surrounding health. So I initially made an appointment with a health coach to talk about sleep. I believe that was my initial because I wanted to sleep better. I wanted to have better sleep habits, and I wasn't where I wanted to be. That conversation has shifted somewhat to other things. And one of the things that I recently talked about with my health coach was exercise. And I've been frustrated because I feel like I'm a 2 week exerciser. Okay, maybe you can relate. If you can relate to that, put I relate in the comments. Um, I was a 2 week exerciser. I'm good for 2 weeks, solid as a rock. I'm exercising, I'm doing it. Whatever it is, it's happening. The heart's beating, the sweat is pouring, all that stuff is going on. My legs are sore because it's pain leaving the body, you know, all of that's happening. And then something will come up in life and I'm off the bandwagon. And so I explained this to my coach, and in her questioning, she got me to realize that I had, again, let's go back to the mental activity, I had an idea of what I should be doing, right? I'm sure you've heard this. 5 days a week, 30 minutes each time, vigorous exercise. You want aerobic exercise of some sort, and you want some, in there, you want also some strength training. Okay, so you need weights, you need some kind of resistance. We've all heard that, and the book does talk about that. So I'm not here to dismiss that. It is true, it is not a fable, right? That is optimal. But where am I now? Where are you right now? Because for you, jumping to 5 days a week of vigorous activity for 30 minutes each time might break you. Literally, it might break you. And so what is it? What's that picture of optimum health and optimum exercise routine that you have in your head? What's that tape you've been playing yourself, that cassette that you have been playing in your head over and over? And how is that impacting your ability or inability to then exercise? So I realized, yeah, I had this vision of what's the best, what's the advised way to go, and I wasn't meeting that. And I was frustrated because, hey, I'm old enough to have gotten my act together. My coach helped me realize to start small. And this was something that we talked about when I was talking about sleep habits. I wanted to go to bed earlier. I was going to bed maybe 10:30, 10:45. I wanted to go to bed by 9. She said, "Don't try to just jump to 9. Think gradual steps. 15 minutes. Try that for a week or two. 15, go backwards 15 minutes and so if you're typically going to bed at 10:30, then aim for 10:15. So what is your 10:15? Okay? What is that thing that you could do that's a small step in the right direction? And then set a goal for yourself that's actually realistic. So often we do not set realistic goals at all. Just like, oh, I'm going to go to bed at 9 o'clock. There are some personalities, or I don't know if it's a personality thing or just something else, but there's some people that can do that. They can stop whatever bad habit cold turkey, and it's like this mind over matter magic. But I would dare to believe that most of us need those gradual steps. And we need to be proud of those gradual steps. So, what is the stuff that you're playing in your head that has created a picture of health that you just cannot live up to, and that is causing you to not take steps in the physical activity direction that you know you need to take? Okay. Uh, Again, this is not about me saying, here's what you need to do in terms of your exercise routine, and here's what you need to do in terms of your mental activity routine. It's me asking us to think about what we're doing and the why. When we understand that why, then we can start to make some better changes, I believe. Okay? So let's just do a quick revision. Activity is both mental and physical. And mental and physical activity work hand in hand and are fueled by what we put into our bodies. What we put into our bodies is not just food, but is also what we're taking in through our eyes and ears, and the conversations we engage in, the books that we read, like all of that also is a form of intake and is impacting both our mental and our physical health. So, where are you in all of that and why? What's your why? Where are you in all of that and why? And then another question to ask yourself is this: where do you want to be and why? Maybe answering that question is the key to you taking a step in the right direction. Because maybe that question will help you understand the unrealistic expectations you have set for yourself. After talking with my coach, I was able to feel uh, more capable of taking some good steps toward more activity. And one of the things that I did, which may seem really simple to somebody else, was I said, okay, I'm going to exercise on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's it. And am I exercising for 30 minutes each of those times? No, because I'm starting small. The Monday, Wednesday, Friday consistency is going to be amazing all by itself. And then we can add more minutes. So I've been doing 20 minutes, roughly 20-minute exercises Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, mostly aerobic. And that has freed me. Just scheduling it. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays and Sundays, I'm like, I'm free. I don't have to exercise. But I still aim to move my body. Okay. I don't have to have that focused aerobic exercise time, but I still need to move my body. Again, back to the resources many of us have already at our fingertips. My health care provider, my insurance provider, has an app. So on my phone, I can track all of this stuff, which is wonderful. Now, when I say all of this stuff, I'm talking about certain habits, certain activities. And it tells me how many steps I've taken in a day because I'm wearing this little tracker, which happened to be free at the beginning of, was it last year or something like that? So these are things to pay attention to. Sometimes we're paying for this, that, and the other, but we're not paying attention to all the benefits within, right? Like we have a bank account, but we haven't realized that we have some free services available to us at our bank. I mean, free as in there's no extra charge. And so we can talk to somebody about, potential savings activities or whatever the case may be. There are resources that we're already paying for and we're not tapping into. So that may be the case for you. You may already have things, or maybe you've been an exercise junkie kind of, and you've gone on this bandwagon and that bandwagon, and you have all these gadgets. And so maybe you don't need to purchase anything in order to start. You have all the resources right at your fingertips or in the box in the attic, and you just need to get it, dust it off, or take it out of the package and put it on, connect it to your phone, and start moving. There are different things that we can do that don't cause us to go into panic mode, don't cause us to feel inadequate, allow us to take these small steps in the right direction. Remember, Sunday's lesson was about choice. We have the ability to make decisions. We may often feel as though our decision making is inconsequential, maybe because of the role we serve in our work or at church or wherever. We may feel like, the choices I make aren't that big of a deal. Or we may feel as though in some settings we don't have the option to choose, and that really makes us feel restricted. I want to encourage you to realize that most of us still have some choices that we are in control of. And my guess is that if you're tuning into this, you have a lot of choices at your at your fingertips to make, and I guess at your mind's fingertips to make. And so, when it comes to your mental and your physical activity, your mental and your physical exercise, remember that you do have the power to choose. On Tuesday, we've been skipping around in the word creation, and on Tuesday we looked at trust in God, and I love that we had to make that switch because it now enables me to talk about it in this way in relation to activity. We so often separate our relationship with God from other aspects of our lives. And this is a beautiful time, just like with mental and physical activity, this is a perfect time to remember that, oh, yeah, my spiritual life, my connection with God is related to my activity. Should be related, can be related if we so choose. So, that trust in God. How can I trust in God to help me engage in a more effective exercise program or just activity? Okay, maybe you need to take the word exercise out of your vocabulary because you have all sorts of negative things that fly out of your head when you say the word exercise. So think of it as activity, okay? Movement, moving your body. There are a couple of coaches, health coaches, um, in this area that talk about movement. You know, how are you moving your body? Okay, uh, how can I trust God to help me in this journey toward improved activity? How can I trust Him to help me to feed my body well, whether it's through what I'm eating or what I'm putting into my head, my mind through my senses? How can I trust God to help me to fuel my body well? How can I trust God to help me figure out what mental activity there is that I can really engage with easily? How can I trust God to reveal to me the fact that having to go to my doctor before I start an exercise program is not the end of the world. It actually might be the best thing for me. How can I trust God with this aspect of my health? Let's not leave the two things apart. Let's bring them together. And then, so we looked at choice, we looked at trust, and then on Tuesday, we looked at environment. And I think this is a big one when it comes to activity. Where are you? I love this room. Okay, this has become my home office. I love this room because of how I have set it up. And there's still room to grow in terms of the development, the aesthetic development of this space. But I enjoy coming here. I really do. I've put out all these plants. I love seeing plants. I've made this a comfortable space in which to work. Do you have a comfortable space in which to exercise? Do you have your chair positioned really well against or beside a window so that around that 8 o'clock time after you've had breakfast in the morning, a healthy one that fuels your body, ideally, you can sit by your window, watch the birds, hear them talk, chit chatter, and and then do your Sudoku puzzle by the light from the sun. How are you positioning yourself environmentally so that you can enjoy your health and make these steps that move you in the right direction? I want to thank you for joining me tonight, and I'm going to play one more video, a different video, to wrap us up that speaks a little bit more to activity.
Activity will combat cabin fever. Have you ever heard of the phrase cabin fever? Or perhaps stir crazy? It's not a real disease diagnosis, but we all know the symptoms: feeling restless, unmotivated, and losing our patience easily. One of the ways to combat this is through activity, both mental and physical. Here are a few tips. Get outside. Don't underestimate the power of fresh air. Take a walk, work in the yard, ride your bike. Get that vitamin D. Stay mentally active, and I don't mean surfing the internet. It's so easy to get lost on your phone or computer. You start by looking up a healthy spaghetti recipe, and an hour later, you're watching videos of people slipping on icy sidewalks. We talk about exercising your muscles. How about stretching your brain? Do some mental gymnastics like a Sudoku or crossword puzzle, or perhaps put together a jigsaw puzzle with your family. Or perhaps start that hobby you've always wanted to try. Or read a book. Yes, I said it. Remember books? Keeping your body and mind active will keep you alert, awake, and you might just learn something. Be safe, be healthy. That's Creation Life.
Be safe, be healthy. Thank you so much for joining me again tonight. I'll be back tomorrow and we'll be talking about, what will we be talking about? Well, you'll have to tune in and see. And remember, if you haven't been able to watch the rest of our episodes, is that what these are called? Our show. If you haven't been able to watch them, please just go to our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and type in Athens SDA, and you will find the other videos and you'll be blessed by them. I guarantee it. If you aren't blessed, tell me. Okay? Let me know. We'll talk about it. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. And again, thank you for joining me today.